Hello there and welcome back to Aldra Cooks. This week we're going to be talking about smoking meat and then making some carbonara from some smoked bacon. Before we get started though, do make sure you like the video, it helps out a huge amount, and also get down to the comments and let me know what your favorite pasta dish is. I'd love some more inspiration and maybe we can make it on the channel. Right, on to carbonara. So, the meat is going to be some pretty regular pork belly, and the wood chips we'll be using are apple chips. I thought we'd also use this episode as a bit of a way to introduce the concept of my new smoker and how to actually use a smoker as well. So to set up the smoker, you first need to make sure that you soak your wood chips well in advance in some water. About 30 minutes is a good idea, and you need to prepare the fire. The fire is of course going to be made with charcoal, the only real way to smoke delicious food. And we're going to be using the chimney method, which involves putting a big pile of coals into a little chimney, lighting it with some fire underneath, and then pouring it onto some cold coals, which is actually called the minion method. It's fun. You can look it up. There's some more guides online. But it's quite easy. You basically need to light a nice big fire with this charcoal, and then you are all ready to put the rest of the body together and then beautifully begin smoking. Smokers differ from barbecues in the fact that they have a bit of more of a drum, at least this type does anyway, and also they have a water pan. The water pan's really cool and quite useful. It helps lower the overall temperature and helps keep moisture in the kind of general atmosphere of the smoking meat and stops it from drying out as easily. By the end of it, the water mostly evaporates, but it helps kind of keep everything moist and tasty. Once you've got your water pan set up and the fire going, you need to add your wood chips and not choke on the smoke. And then all you need to do is put the meat on the rack things, enclose everything, and wait a little while. This bacon's probably going to take about 1.5 to 2.25 hours, depending on the temperature. Usually going to be around between 200 and 250 Fahrenheit. I do end up checking the meat a couple times, sometimes a bit too often. A good thing to remember when smoking or barbecuing in general is that if you're looking, it ain't cooking. And as you can see, when I open things up, all the smoke and heat goes away and I can just put my hand right in there, wasting valuable minutes of heat. It's just stupid. I'm trying to make sure that my pork here doesn't overcook, so I'm going to be trying to do a very specific temperature. For smoking bacon like this, which has been cured for 5 days, we are going to pull it when it reaches an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 62 degrees Celsius. Hey, it's done. Beautiful. Yep. Nope. Please keep that in. The tiniest bacon ever.
Gloves?
Alongside the actual pork belly, I smoked some of the pork rind that actually got separated from the bacon. I don't really like the rind left on my bacon. I like to separate it when I make it myself because it's kind of chewy and tough and I just don't like it. So I cured it with the bacon and smoked it with the rest of the bacon so as to make pork scratchings. Additionally, the butcher that I got this from for some reason left a big pile of bones, the ribs, attached to the pork belly, so I had to cut that off myself and smoked it separately, so I ended up with some pork ribs as well. Now, we can get to the process of making carbonara. After all, what better thing to do when you've just made some homemade bacon and it's just not quite, perfectly square and cut for bacon, so you've got to trim off some of the edges. Why not chop those edges up and then fry them in a pan with no fat but a gentle heat until all the natural fat renders out of the bacon and it fries into a beautiful, crisp, tasty carbonara meat. Also, don't forget to put black pepper on it, otherwise it's not carbonara, it's just bacon. You want to grate around 45 ounces of parmesan, mix it in with your scrambled eggs, add it to the carbonara once the pasta has been decanted into the bacon and fried for a minute to help soak up the bacon fat. Side note about the pasta, why it's cooking so quick, is this is fresh pasta, so I actually made the pasta from scratch. I will do a video on that at some point, and it's eggs, olive oil, and flour, and it's delicious and amazing, but it cooks like 90 seconds just like that. It's so fast to cook and it's so tender and delicious. So once you cooked your bacon, you've added your pasta, you've added the goo and mixed it all together, you have a choice to make. Do you cook it until it's scrambled eggs or do you pull it early? I'm of a pulling it early camp, but unfortunately, Olivia likes hers more scrambled. She likes it to basically be scrambled eggs. So I do let it go a little bit longer than I would normally because that's how she prefers it. Serve it in a bowl, hopefully placed beautifully, and then grate some more Parmesan cheese over it, and you have carbonara. Easily one of the great bacon and egg dishes in the world. I hope in the future to do a lot more videos on smoking meat. I've actually cooked a couple briskets recently that were just mwah, chef's kiss, so good. We are now back on schedule and making and filming a lot of really wonderful things. So I hope you guys have liked it. As always, do be sure to leave a like and a comment below. It really does help out a lot, and let me know what your favorite pasta dish is as well. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Carbonara is a really delicious dish and traditionally has its roots in miners. The story goes that Italian wives and families of miners would prepare this dish as an afternoon repast where they would normally have their main meal of the day around 2 p.m. And it's called carbonara because it kind of reminded the miners of the flecks of carbon and coal they were mining because of all the black pepper on the meat. It's also just like basically an English breakfast in a pasta dish. It's pasta, which is flour and eggs and oil or water. It's other eggs with the carbonara, it's bacon, and it's some pepper. Like, what else do you need? Also a good helping of Parmesan cheese, but you know, what kind of breakfast doesn't have that? Side note, if you use cream in your carbonara, you are a disgusting piece of trash and you need to leave immediately. Okay, no. Using cream is just disgusting. I'll eat fish with cheese, right? I'll do all kinds of weird stuff. I'll have clams and tomatoes, but I will never, ever put cream in carbonara. You don't need it. The sauce comes from an emulsion of the pasta water, the bacon fat, and the mixed eggs. That's all. That's all you need. It forms, as you'll see, into a beautiful pasta dish.